It's me again, Jennifer H. Cunningham. I am the editor-in-chief of the news division for Business Insider. We've got a really illustrious panel here today. We are going to be talking about investing in equity, billions committed to bridging the funding gap, and this is our panel. I'm really excited to host this panel about the rise of and importance of funds managed by women and people of color. And I'm thrilled to introduce our panelists. First off, in our center, we have Jennifer Geronimo. She is a veteran of the financial services industry and the CEO of Gangels Inc., venture capital firm. To the extreme left is Jenny Just, the co-founder of PEAK6 Strategic Capital, which houses several financial product and service brands. She also founded Power Poker, which uses the game to empower the lives of women. And to my left is Constance Adams Morgan, a writer, advisor, director, and entrepreneur who founded the publishing company Constance Holst. Thank you for being here, ladies.
Thank you.
So let's jump right into it. To start, would each panelist just take a moment to tell us how you got to where you are and how did you find your purpose?
Okay, I'll go first. So I started out in the banking industry, to be quite frank. It was the first job that offered me a job out of college, and I took it. I remember, there's a joke that, well, it's real, but I had a job to go either into fashion or banking. The fashion job was like all the way on the east side, not next to any subways, and so I decided to go into finance, and that's how I got into it. But what really got me excited about it was the opportunity to help other women when I started a male-dominated industry. Typically, I was the only woman in the room. I was the person who was taking the notes in the meetings. But I didn't really mind that because I felt like those roles needed to be, someone needed to take them. No one was raising their hand. And it allowed me to kind of shine in an organization that really valued me. And so, and then as I continued to grow, being able to help other women in the industry and lift them up was really rewarding to me. And so really it was all about helping women all from the beginning. And then moving into the venture industry 2.5 years ago, where Gangels, our mission is showing the world that equity and access and representation leads to positive returns. It's not a nice to have, it's a need to have. And being able to do that externally, not just for the people in my company, was like my dream job. And so that's how I landed where I am today.
Thank you.
I can go next. I'm basically your opposite. I started in the fashion industry, and I ended up in the fintech industry. So I started a publishing company in PR, and I ended up in the finance sector, which is what we're at now. And it's almost a natural occurrence when you come into the public relations aspect. People always need money. So it ended up with that. I ended up on the financial side of starting to help people raise money. And now we are into another space where we're actually trying to raise money for museums. So we have just started a new fintech company called Morgan Guaranteed, which is going to be helping museums to raise money.
Beautiful.
And so my background was maybe a little bit closer to yours. I grew up on the trading floor. So the Chicago Board Options Exchange. I didn't know anything about it. I sort of ended up there as a token female who could answer math questions. It turns out that it was still one of the best years of my career. It's like it's like a sporting event all day long, every day. All men, and completely ridiculous. But I ended up really appreciating options and thinking about them a little bit differently, I think. And to the diversity point, I think when we decided to start our own firm, PEAK6, it's been 26 years. We've never had a losing year. And the truth is we started with 2 people in a room, and we're competing with the best in the world. You know, at Goldman and Susquehanna and Citadel all existed when we started. And we approached the problem differently. And I think we approached it differently because I was there. Because we know what my co-founder's male, but we know roughly what he would have done. And we did something different. We were both incredibly important, but I think we became something from nothing because there was diversity in the room.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. My next question is, you know, as we all know, women and people of color have systemically lacked access to capital, to financial resources and services. And why do you and the organizations that you lead believe in the importance of diversifying access and finance generally, and in the venture capital space specifically?
So I'll go first. Women outperform men. It's a fact. And so I always find it funny when people ask like questions like, you know, why is that important? And again, I mentioned it in the first question, right? That is our whole purpose of my company, Angels, is to show the world that it's not a risk, that it's actually the right thing to do. It's the smart things to do, and it brings and it will make you money. And really, I think for women who are trying to get that capital, right, it's about building your network of people, knowing the right organizations that will open those doors for you, and that's really probably one of the hardest parts, right, is just knowing the room before you go into it and finding those friendly places. But I think it's super important in venture because women only get 2% of funding. Yet, there's all these stats that show that women outperform, that women hold on to cash, women are better wartime, I call it wartime CEO, right? In a market like we are in today, women are gonna keep track of that cash a little bit tighter. I know I'm making some really big statements, and I know they're a little bit, they're broad statements that people would say is maybe be a little bit stereotypical, but that's my passion, and I truly believe it. And so that's why I think it's important, though, that women get the funding that they need.
Go ahead.
We don't consider it being a risk either to invest in women. As a matter of fact, I feel like we tend to have more in common with women, and they tend to be more accountable for risk, basically, themselves. So it becomes actually much more non-risky to invest in a woman.
And I would agree too. There's no monopoly by gender or race on great ideas. Mm. So why would I limit the opportunities we can have, limit the type of employees we can hire, limit the type of investments or where we would make them from?
Thank you. What if the investment fails? You know, how do you handle the possibility of failing and a failure generally?
Well, I think in venture, right, failure is going to happen, right? It's especially with Angels, where we write a lot of checks. Probably not the largest checks, but we write a lot, and we're playing the game of volume, right? So I expect my portfolio companies to fail. I expect a certain percentage of them to fail, right? The thing is that men, and I might be making these sweeping statements, and I hope I'm not offending anybody, but men tend to fail forward, right? I can't tell you how many times I look at pitch decks from men, and they say, I'm a serial entrepreneur, and they list out the companies. And then you go back and you go, but those weren't successful companies, right? But yet they keep getting the funding. And so women right now, though, because they're, women only get 2% of the funding, so you're not going to see a lot of serial entrepreneurs because they just don't get the funding. And so when they fail, it's a big deal, like, oh, that woman failed. When I always just say, fail forward, fail fast, expect it at times, But if you invest in a company that you believe is solving a problem, and you've heard this all throughout the day, that you believe that's solving a problem that needs to be solved, you at least that's my mantra for how I personally invest my money. Whether I make money or lose money, I know I'm putting my money towards my values, my belief system, and the things that are important to me.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. When we also make our own investments, we actually look at soft values and how managers are dealing with in the company of the soft values. And many times, women are just better managers, better at managing people, and they get better results.
I have a quick story, but first I guess I would say losing, isn't a failure, it's learning. And, and I was talking to a couple of the women last night, right? We have relationships in our life, and we have a relationship with our money. And there's no relationship that's perfect. Your money should go on a journey with you. And if you want a really stable, straight up to the right journey with your money, and you're not going to take risk, you're not going to have a very high outcome. And so you're going to have to take more risk. Now, it's a personal choice, big or small risk. We like to talk about, especially for young women, taking more risks with an S early. It's not necessarily bigger risks. Or bigger risk. It is more risks so that I get practice, trying, failing, understanding, learning, growing. It's like, we like to call it compound experience as opposed to compound interest. You really start to accelerate your growth curve in an exponential way if you can get those experiences early enough. So take the risk then, because then by the time they feel really weighty and big and I've got all these other responsibilities, you've done it before or you've seen something similar. So your calculated way of taking that risk will be that much better. So my final piece is a story. I was at a dinner a couple of weeks ago, and a gentleman, very senior gentleman, and he made sure we all knew it, was talking about how women at their firm coming up as managing partners, when they come and ask for that position, they always have a perfect story. And he doesn't know anything about me. He doesn't know anything about my background. And all I said to him is, are you surprised? I said, because we're not taught to fail. Right? We're not practicing failing along the way. So our expectation is if I want to get from here to there, I better be damn good every single point. But the truth is the gentleman who's been failing on his entire journey to get there is actually looking for you to do that as well. It's just not communicated. It's not clear. It's not understood. So I will tell you, your perfect journey might be perfect to you in a certain way, but if your perfect journey entails anything beyond sort of a flattish curve to the right, if you want some extraordinary opportunities in your life, you're going to have to take some risk.
I could add to that as well. I sit on some boards, and I feel it's very important for the board to actually talk to the management to be able to take risks that it will not be held against them if they fail. Right. Because it's the only way the company can grow is if the management takes risks. And there's too many people that you become stagnant.
Yeah.
because the management don't take risks. So it's really important from the board perspective. When you talk about women, they get nervous, they get fired, they think they're going to get fired. That the board would then say, no, we have your back, we're not going to get fired, but you need to take risks.
Yep.
If I learned something from Poker Power, right? So we're playing the game, and I end up winning the first couple of hands because I completely bluff it, right? And now I'm playing with a lot more chips, right? And now I can take more risks. I think that's a little bit about, what men have, because women, 10 years ago, you didn't see women in the venture space. You didn't see women investors. You didn't see the big stories that you even see today, right? They're playing, so we're playing with our own money right now in a lot of cases. In a lot of the circles that I'm running in, we're playing with our own money, and we're hoping to hit big with something, right? Men are playing with house money because they've been playing for 10 to 15 years earlier from us. They've got a couple of wins. Now all of a sudden they can double down here. And it was funny, it didn't dawn on me until Poker Power. And I said, oh, that's it. That's it.
It's
And
really
now I just
quite
got to
magical.
keep.
Yeah.
It is.
What you start to see.
Yeah.
Especially too when you start to play with men, but we start with a safe environment for women. But yes.
House money, it's a good one.
Yeah,
It is. What is your advice to the people here who may manage venture capital funds, who are entrepreneurs, who are seeking investment, or more broadly, who are individuals who want to launch their own businesses? What should they be doing? What should they stop doing?
Well, we all know what my answer is, which is to play poker. And I will tell you a couple things. One is playing poker in person, right? It's hard for women because guess what? Most of you don't know how to play, and I'm telling you this, and your friends don't know how to play. So we are on a mission, obviously, to do that. But playing in person is incredibly important. But also, we did build the first gender, in my opinion, the first gender-neutral poker app, Poker Power Play. You can practice online. You can practice with bots. You can practice in a safe environment with our women every day, 3 or 4 times a day. You get the women who learn in our events can go and do that. But what you will see by practicing, I always say it's like exercise. You don't get muscles in one visit, right? Yes, you'll know the lingo when you're done if you do an in-person event with us, but you don't know what you don't know. You don't get this kind of insight. We get this all the time. Our testimonials are crazy. We get them all the time from all different seniority levels, all different age groups. Until you get hands under your belt. And so you just need to see. And it's fascinating, because I was not an online gamer, what you know about the player you're playing online, right? That is also fascinating. And then the final thing is, for us, is posting and talking about it. So we normalize the idea that women are going to be taking risk. They should be at every table. We're going to practice, and we're going to get to those tables where men are not welcoming us today. And by the way, most of our women who play at Poker Power are better than the average male poker player, like after 75 minutes, because we do such a good job teaching. It's a really unique opportunity, I would say.
No, I couldn't agree. And it's part of our educational program. We have a program for women to demystify venture for our female members and who are also investors. And part of the curriculum is Poker Power. And it's because I truly believe you have so many aha moments in that session that really drilled home. The other thing I would say is just advice is you, and we've heard it throughout the day, is you got to really believe that you can do it. And listen, you're going to have those moments where you doubt yourself. But you got to be careful with that negative Nancy in your head saying, "Oh my, watch." As humans, right? We're built to protect ourselves, right? And so that's what that is for, is to protect. But that was like when we were hunting and gathering, and and a bear is coming. At this point, get rid of that negative Nancy. Learn to acknowledge her. Go, I hear you, but you're going away, and I'm going to believe in myself, and I'm going to double down.
I agree with her.
We're out of time. Thank you to the panelists. Thank you, Connie. Thank you, Jenny. Thank you, Jennifer. And thank you all for being here.